British Grenadiers.
With the thrill of the booming of the cannons, the firing of the muskets and the vibrant colours of the uniformed guard, you can feel the history when visiting Fort York National Historic Site. The birthplace of modern Toronto and the site of the Battle of York during the War of 1812, Fort York has a history and it has a story to tell. This is City Parent TV. Is designated as a National Historic Site, and our guide today is Richard Haynes. And Richard, I know that the history of the fort runs very, very deep.
It does, yeah. It was established in 1793 on this very site by Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe.
So we're standing on history.
Yes, we're standing on history.
Right
John Graves Simcoe was the first Lieutenant Governor of Upper Canada, which is now Ontario, and he established the fort with his Queen's Rangers, his unit, his military unit, on this very site, and at the same time established the town of York, which later, of course, was renamed Toronto, its original native name.
Right, so he did a lot in his lifetime.
He did, although he wasn't Lieutenant Governor for that long. He left the country in 1796 and actually died in 1806. So he did a lot. He's credited with ending slavery, actually, in Upper Canada, yeah.
That's a great thing to have credited
it's a good
to
legacy,
your name. Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the sort of exciting parts of the history of the fort?
Well, the fort has a long history, but the most dramatic part really is its role in the War of 1812 between the US and the British, which was from 1812 to 1815. And during that time, there was one major battle here in April 1813, April the 27th precisely, and during that battle a large American force from Sackett's Harbor in New York came to this area, landed, and forcefully took over the fort and the town.
Right.
And,
did they come across the lake?
They did. They came across Lake Ontario, and they were met by a much, much smaller British force of Canadians, British, and Aboriginal soldiers.
So they all fought together?
They all fought together, and eventually they were forced to retreat, and the Americans occupied the town for approximately 5 days. One of the most, I guess, outcomes of that is that the soldiers and some of the sailors, although it wasn't sanctioned, they got a little bit out of hand and burned the Parliament buildings and left. So it left a little sort of bad taste in the mouth.
Right.
Yeah, and there was a retaliation for that. Later on in the war, when the British went down and took over Washington, they actually burned Washington in direct retaliation for that.
So they did exactly what had been done to them.
Yes, in a way they did.
Not necessarily a good policy, really. So how do you bring the history to life within the fort now in 2000?
Yeah,
the 2008.
That's right. I mean, obviously we don't burn things down or anything like that, but we do try and create some sights and sounds from the time. We have costume staff who dress as soldiers, or soldiers' wives, or servants, or whoever would have been
They're feeling
here.
like being that day.
Yeah, that's right. And we have musket firing and cannon firings during special events where families come down.
That must be fun.
Yeah, and it's fun for the kids too. I mean, during some of the special events, we have little musket drills that they do with pretend wooden muskets, and they like to march around. We also sometimes do music workshops, kitchen workshops, that kind of thing. So we try and bring it to life so that just not only the adults but the kids can also appreciate it.
So you bring the education element in a fun way.
We do, yeah. We obviously, we don't want to take the place of the classroom. We just want to add to it and highlight it.
Right. Well, and that's, education in the field, really.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is, there's nothing like coming to a place and feeling the history within it.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly the way we look at it.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much. And if you want to feel the history too or learn more, you can go to www.toronto.ca/museums. And you've been watching City Parent TV.